Hi students, welcome to lesson number 1 on meaning, importance, nature and scope of rural sociology. India is basically a land of villages. Rural sociology deals into the process of rural society. Rural sociology is a specialized branch of sociology with scope of making extensive and intensive survey and investigation in the rural society. It is also an object of rural sociology to study the peculiar characteristics of rural society or rural life, its problems, its culture, its religion, its economic and political life in the most macro way. Rural sociology is an active field in much of the world and in the United States originated in the 1910s. With close ties to the National Department of Agriculture and Land-Grant University Colleges of Agriculture. Agriculture is one focus of rural sociology and much of the field is devoted to the economics of farm production. It also includes studies related to food science, rural migration and other demographic patterns, environmental sociology, lands policies, rural development programs, the sociology of natural resources which includes forests, mining, fishing and other areas, rural cultures and identities, rural health care and educational policies. Most of the rural sociologists also work in the areas of participatory development, community development, development of studies, community studies and environmental studies. The objectives of this lesson is to define and explain rural sociology. It helps to let the students to know about this importance, nature and scope. Now, we will discuss about the meaning of rural sociology. Rural sociology is centered on the rural community life. The village society is considered as the backbone of Indian society. There is a glaring difference between the social structure, processes, social dynamics and social control in rural society. The basic aim of the study of rural sociology is to make the village people self-sufficient and also link them with the wider society at regional and national levels. Hence, there is a difference between studying urban society and rural society. Rural sociology studies the latter. Due to historical reasons, the existing Indian rural society has become a veritable mosaic of various types of rural societies and hence reveals a diversified cultural patterns. To reconstruct our rural society, it is urgently necessary to study not only the economic forces, but also the social, the ideological and oilier forces operating in our society. It is a very complex and gigantic task. Thus, rural sociology has been specially designed to study the rural phenomena and it is a systematic study of the varied aspects of the rural society. It is a study of the rural social networks and how they operate for the smooth functioning of the society. The rural society is generally rooted in the villages and rural sociology studies the facets of the villages, the way it functions, the various problems it faces and how it tackles to face the imminent challenges. Rural sociology offers viable solutions and ways of mitigating the problems that bound over the villages. Now, we talk about the definition of rural sociology. Rural sociology deals into the process of rural society. Some of the important definitions of rural sociology by eminent sociologists are as follows. T.L. Smith says, such sociological facts and principles as are derived from the study of rural social relationships may be referred to as rural sociology. F.S. Chaplin says, the rural sociology of rural life, the study of rural population, rural social organization and the rural social processes operative in rural society. According to A.R. Desai, the basic task of rural sociology is to discover the laws of development of rural society and prime objective of rural sociology should be to make a scientific, systematic and comprehensive study of the rural social organization of its structure, functions and objective tendencies of development and on the basis of such study to discover the laws of its development. According to D. Sanderson, rural sociology is the sociology of rural life in the rural environment. Burton says, rural sociology is that study of human relationships in rural environment. And according to House, in its beginning, rural sociology, like much of the rest, what passed for sociology in the United States of America, consisted largely of ethical evaluation and practical proposals for the improvement of rural life. The above definitions point out the aim of scientific rural sociology and also gives us proper perspective of rural social life. Rural sociology gives answer to the laws of rural social life and points out the necessary conditions of its further advancement. A.R. Desai has further explained rural sociology is the science of rural society. The laws of the structure and development of rural society in general can aid us in discovering the special laws governing a particular rural society. Rural sociology is the science of laws of the development of the rural society. Thus, it can be said that rural sociology provides a complete and detailed material for the knowledge of various aspects of the rural social life and provides the norms and values that govern the rural society, the problems before its culture, its economic and political life, and also the impact of urbanization on it. Now, we will discuss the importance and significance of rural sociology. Rural sociology holds immense significance in a country like India that is predominantly agrarian. Majority of its population resides in villages. Dependence on agriculture forms the fundamental base of the Indian rural life, and it also acts as a backbone for the rural population. It does not have an economic role to play, but helps in shaping the moral, psychological, and ideological life of the rural people. But an urban bias has always been noticed among the scholars and researchers who have either to focus their attention on the study of phenomena and the challenges faced in the urban society. Although 3/4 of the population resides in the villages under acute poverty and distress, but they are hardly studied upon. According to A.R. Desai, the study of the Indian rural society, which varies from state to state, district to district, due to their extreme geographical, historical, and ethnic peculiarities, hitherto made has been spasmodic, insufficient, and often superficial. He further states that such a study cannot give an authentic, composite picture of the variegated landscapes of the rural life, nor can it serve as a guide for evolving a scientific program of reconstruction of the rural society, so essential for the renovation of the entire Indian society. However, there is an urgent need for the scientific and systematic study of the rural social life to understand the intricacies, complexities, and the eventual transformation that is going through. As per general understanding, the rural society in India is considered as immobile and stagnant, where people prefer to stay all their lives without even sparing a thought for migration. But with changing time, the unique agrarian socio-economic witnessed a major transformation due to the prolific impact of the British rule in India. In the post-independent era, the implementation of the 5-year plans and the premiation of the mass media facilitated in revolutionizing the rural society. Villages were earlier known to be atomistic, independent, and self-sufficient, and also a closed group. But with the influx of modern technology and industry, rural people started migrating from the hinterlands, causing slums and overpopulated cities. Villagers were exposed to political power through adult franchise, democracy, and breezy transformation. It is in this context that the rural society and the living patterns of the rural folks needs to be evaluated by understanding the significance of rural sociology. It is argued by David Pocock and Louis Dumont that there is nothing special about Indian rural life. Both rural and urban communities are a part of the larger civilization of the subcontinent. They argue that the urban community is nothing but an expansion of rural community. Basically, rural and urban communities are the two sides of the same coin. The significance of rural sociology. After independence, it is very much necessary for our country to have a systematic study of the rural social organization, its structure, function, and evolution. Professor A.R. Desai, while highlighting the importance of rural sociology, observes that it is, however, urgently necessary to make a scientific and systematic study of rural society, of its economic foundations, social and cultural superstructure, of the institutions and functions, of the problem arising from the rapid process of disintegration which is undergoing and in which even threatens its breakdown. India is a classic land of agriculture. Its long past history, its complex social organization and religious life, its various cultural pattern can hence be understood only if a proper study is made of the rise, growth, crystallization, subsequent fossilization and breakup of the self-sufficient village community. The principal pivot of the Indian society only till recently, it is with the help of rural sociology that it can be possible to find out what are the cause of breakup of the self-sufficiency of the village community. It is necessary to understand and to act according to the laws prevailing in the village in order to achieve progress of the villages. This necessitates a special study of the rural society. In our country, the emphasis of rural sociology is to analyze the implications of traditional rural society in the modern context. The importance of rural sociology can be examined under the following heads. Many studies before rural sociology were in monograph or article form and they lack proper analysis and solution, but rural sociology lays great stress on systemization and scientific analysis. Rural sociology aims at studying all those problems and life of rural people, as vast majority of population lives in the villages, which has its own problems, and even today 2/3 of the world population lives in rural areas. Rural society is a fundamental basis of human civilization and culture. People who are living in urban areas, they are mainly the migrants from the rural areas. So, rural area or village is a wellspring of our culture and civilization. Thus, to know about the life of urban community, it is essential to know their original place of living, that is rural community. The basic importance of rural sociology is to find out the laws of development, and those principles only can be discovered by studying rural communities in detail. Unless one understands what rural India is, one cannot understand the problems of India as a whole and its ancient traditions, customs, culture and way of life. India is a country of villages. Therefore, rural sociology is comparatively more important here than in any other country of the world. The importance of true Indian culture can be found in the Indian villages. The importance of rural society cannot be ignored in studying rural problems in India. The importance of rural sociology cannot be ignored or underestimated. The role of rural sociology in understanding and solving of rural problem is well emphasized by all. Today, it is a slogan, back to the villages. If villages will prosper, we will prosper. And if village will perish, India too will perish. The importance of rural sociology is becoming more and more popular in our society. It is considered as a progressive social science. Now, we will discuss about the nature of rural sociology. As in the case of every young social science, in the matter of rural sociology also, a great controversy has taken place over the question of the definition and scope. There has been dispute as to the nature of the subject, and the extreme has been as usual. It is neither a distinct science and is merely an aspect of sociology, and it is a distinct science. There is a great controversy as to whether to rural sociology be regarded as distinct science or merely an application of the general principles of sociology. Should rural sociology restrict to scope merely to the life process of rural society, or should it also include as an integral part a study of rural and urban social life, comparative as well as in their mutual interconnection and interaction, and further have as its central concept what Zimmerman described as the mechanism and effect of urbanization and realization upon a population. A.R. Desai further adds, should rural sociology only provide scientific knowledge about rural society and laws governing its development, or should it also serve as a guide and suggest practical programs of reform or reconstruction of that society in the economic, social or cultural fields? In India, rural sociology is treated as a part of sociology. Like sociology, it is also considered as a social science. It is precisely a specialized field of sociology. Its nature is scientific. Actually, to say by nature, rural sociology is a science. Science, in simple words, refers to a systematic body of knowledge. In case of rural sociology, the rural problems are systematically and logically studied, as a result of which the study becomes universally applicable. Rural sociology fulfills the different criteria of science, but the whole controversy centers around some problems which denies the rural sociology the status of a science. Generally, the term nature refers to essential qualities and characteristics. Now, the characteristics of rural sociology. Rural sociology of its origin and a very new discipline. Here, sociological principles are applied for studying rural society. Rural sociology is multidimensional in character. Rural sociology is scientific and systematic in character. It has acquired an interdisciplinary status over a period of time. It emphasizes on micro studies. It employs comparative method. Since rural sociology is a specialized branch of sociology, therefore, it is also a science. Nevertheless, before furthering to elaborate rural sociology as a science, it is essential to know what science is. Science is a method and the way of looking at things, consisting of systematic steps like observation, collection and classification of data, hypothesis, testing, theory and conclusion. Science possesses 6 basic ingredients such as it employs scientific methods and the study of facts. Scientific principles are universal and scientific laws are vertical. Science discovers the cause-effect relationship in the subject matter, and finally, science can make prediction on the basis of universal and valid laws relating to the cause-effect relationship in any subject. The nature of rural sociology as a science can be examined on the following grounds. The first, it is empirism. Rural sociology uses the empirical method in the form of fieldwork. Unlike natural sciences that carry out experiments in the closed laboratory for measurement and verification, to some extent the empirical method, that is fieldwork, provide opportunity for experimentation, observation and verification. Second, it is methodology. Science must have a valid methodology. Rural sociology utilizes scientific methodology, and hence all the methods used in rural sociology are scientific in nature. The validity of this result is verified and theories are formulated. Such rigorous methodology is assumed to produce dependable theoretical constructs. Third, it is accumulated facts. Rural sociology is also based on actual facts. It studies rural social relationships and activities in a factual manner. It makes a scientific study of facts, general principles and theories involved in them. Robert K. Merton observes that science grows on the data collected from the field and that on sociologists stand on the shoulders of other sociologists. Fourth, it is objectivity. Objectivity means willingness and ability to see things as they really are, to study facts in a given field of investigation as they exist without personal bias, prejudice or feelings. Personal values and desires are not involved in scientific endeavor. Fifth, it is precision and accuracy. Two of the important features of scientific investigations are precision and accuracy. The data that is collected should reflect the exact existing situation at the time of observation. The principles of rural sociology need to be proved to when verified. Their validity can be examined by anyone. Sixth, discovery of cause-effect relationship. Rural sociology also discovers a cause-effect relationship between the phenomena. It finds a causal relationship in social disorganization and other incidents, activities and relationships in rural society and then form laws concerning them. Thus, it is proved that rural sociology by nature is a science, as it possesses all the characteristics of science. However, there are plenty of objections against the scientific nature of rural sociology. Some sociologists have raised their views against the nature of rural sociology as a science. They have strongly objected to the scientific nature of rural sociology on the basis of following grounds. First, its lack of objectivity. The first objection rose against the nature of rural sociology being called a science is that an unbiased and objective study cannot be made in it. Second, lack of experiment. Rural sociology in this context is not a science because its subject matter is a human relationship and behavior, and they are abstract in nature. One can neither see nor touch, neither weigh nor analyze in the laboratory. It does not possess the instrument like the microscope and the thermometer to measure the human behavior as science does. It is not probable to validate and test the theory and the principles of rural sociology like science. It lacks measurement and exactness. The nature of rural sociology as a science is that it is deficient in measurement. Due to the lack of measurement, the results of rural sociology differ from time to time, which is not in the case of natural science. It is not possible to follow the laws and principles of rural sociology universally, as the principles of natural science can be followed. Its laws and principles vary on the basis of time and place concerned. In India, untouchability is a serious rural problem, but in America it is not so. It lacks prediction. Observation and hypothesis are the two basic ingredients of science. On the basis of observation and hypothesis, science has formulated many laws and through which any sort of prediction can be achievable about any experiment. But due to the lack of objectivity and electivity, the principles that are invented by rural sociology are not always acceptable. Consequently, it becomes difficult to predict any occurrence or phenomena. However, it is very difficult to conclude whether by nature it is science or not, as there are dual and contrasting opinion both in favor and against the scientific nature of rural sociology. Now, we discuss about the scope of rural sociology. There exists a great controversy with regard to the scope of rural sociology like any other growing social science. According to Laurie Lanson, the subject matter of rural sociology is a description, analysis of the progress of various groups as they exist in the rural environment. Professor Nelson says about the scope of rural sociology that rural sociology is a description and analysis of progress of various groups as they exist in rural environment. The scope of rural sociology refers to the boundary or subject matter of the discipline. Regarding the subject matter, A.R. Desai is of the opinion that it is a developing science, a young science at the stage of infancy, and its subject matter is yet to be determined. Another view holds that rural sociology is the study of human relationships in rural environment. T.L. Smith also says that the field of rural sociology is the study of patterns of association, groupings, and group behavior of the people who mainly live on agriculture and is their means of livelihood. The above views hold that the scope of rural sociology is the study of rural societies and complexities of rural social life. Indian rural community is a veritable mosaic of different communities. In connection to scope, there are four main controversies. They are: rural sociology is a science or an art, whether rural sociology is a scientific subject matter or special subject matter, or it is a synthesis of different social sciences, whether rural sociology deals with only village community or includes urban communities, whether rural sociology includes only the formulation of different laws or includes follow-up action. Rural sociology is a scientific, systematic, comprehensive study. It studies rural social organization, its structure, functions, and objective tendencies of development. It deals with the systematic study of social relationship and various problems concerning the rural society mid-rural life. In brief, the scope of rural sociology is limited to the study of the following areas of society. First, related to rural community. Rural sociology studies the characteristics, distinct features, nature, and human ecology of village community. It is also the study of activities of rural people. Through these activities, we know the institutional objects of the community. It also studies the homogeneous trajectory of the rigid and conservative nature of hitherto existing customs, traditions, folk ways, mores, norms, values, and so on in rural community. It also studies rural social structure. Rural sociology studies in a comprehensive way the various components of rural social structure, its various elements, dogmas, conventions, laws, functions, and other related matter. For example, village community, caste class, dominant caste, Jajmani system, caste and politics, backward classes, etc. Now, rural institutions. Rural sociology also studies the economic, the political, the religious, and cultural institutions of the rural people. It studies the institutions like family, marriage, kinship, religion, caste, etc. Rural sociology studies the sociological significance of these institutions in the rural context. Now, the rural economy. Economy is the backbone of rural economy, and majority of the rural population are observed in it. They directly depend on agriculture for their livelihood and sustenance. Rural sociology, therefore, studies the causes liable for the failure of agriculture and suggests various measures for the development of agriculture in villages, besides the acceptance of new agricultural. Fifth, the rural social organization. In rural sociology, rural social organization is unavoidable studied. Social organization plays the backbone of every society as well as social life. The most imperative function of rural sociology, therefore, is to offer fundamental knowledge about rural social organization. Rural social organization envelop the spiritual lives, religious activities, sacred relationship and divine notion of rebirth, etc. of the rural folk, which intensely affect the entire social life. Rural sociology thus, for the betterment of the rural life, studies the future prospects of rural social organization and governing laws for its development. 6. It is rural problems. Rural social problems are increasing day by day. The subject matter of rural sociology includes the problems of rural life, such as social, economic, political and cultural problems. It is essential that these should be solved in a planned way. It requires separate analysis because the cause and consequences of these problems are different from the problems in general. These problems include poverty, illiteracy, religious superstitions, traditionalism, inadequate housing, rural unemployment, population growth, casteism, untouchability, etc. Rural sociology therefore studies the causes and evil effects of these problems and also suggests measures for their eradication for the greater interest of the country at large. As these problems are rooted in the rural societies that are also diverse from place to place, their causes, nature and remedies vary from one another. Rural sociology tries draw in the similarities as well as the differences between the problems that stem from various existing issues, and also the disciplines tries to provide viable remedies to it. Now, the rural religion and culture. Rural sociology studies the different forms of rural religion and culture, festivities and events related to these festivities. In a rural society, religion and culture of rural people are given more emphasis because these are the indispensable part of their lives. Religion plays an important role in rural society. Rural society is basically religion-oriented society. It acts as an informal means of social control. The rural people follow all the rules and regulations related to religion and culture. Rural culture is firmly rooted in rigid and conservative dogmas and is generally very stagnant in nature. It includes old customs, traditions, folkways, modes, norms, values, and so on. Rural sociology studies the complexities of rural culture, its different structural organization, cultural patterns, cultural traits, and cultural lag in the rural context. Now we understand the rural social processes. Social processes indicate the fundamental ways through which these people can interact with other groups. The social processes like cooperation, competition in the rural society also form the subject matter of rural sociology. Next, a rural social control. Social control is the control of society over an individual. It starts from the family level. Rural sociology significantly studies the informal means of social control like customs, traditions, folkways, modes, norms, religion, etc. Social control are more social than legal. In rural society, the imperative primary groups like family and neighborhood play a vital role in social control. The fear of boycott from the social function is more powerful control than any other legal punishment. Social control may be conducted in various ways. It varies from society to society. Rural social change. Social change is meant only such alteration as occurs in social organization, that is, structure and functions of society. Social change is the change in the social relationships, the changing aspect of any system of the society. Due to the impact of modern education, means of transport and communication, modernization, urbanization, industrialization, the rural society is now undergoing tremendous change. Only through the changes, the way of progress and change can be possible. Rural sociology also studies the diverse factors responsible for social change in a systematic way. It also tries to provide possible solution for any change, ignited derailment in rural social life. Next, the rural reconstruction and welfare. Rural sociology is substantially concerned with the various steps to rural reconstruction and welfare. Rural sociology studies various plans and programs related to community development programs. It also studies different laws of government regarding the reconstruction of village community. Rural society is engulfed in plenty of issues and social problems. Therefore, for the eradication of these problems and for the betterment of rural life, proper planning and reconstruction should be made by the state as well as the central government. A.R. Desai says, rural sociology studies all these subjects and provides proper guidance in this direction. Thus, rural sociology serves the purpose and provides guidelines to the institutions and organizations which are engaged in developmental tasks. Rural-urban continuum and contrast. The study of rural society remains incomplete unless the study of rural-urban contrast is done in a proper and scientific manner. Both the village and city hypothetically are the two contrasting modes of community life. Rural sociology studies rural-urban contrast and continuum on the basis of social, economic, religious and cultural point of view. Both village and city hypothetically are two contrasting modes of community life. It has to be studied in a scientific manner. By studying the comparison between these two, it can meet different plans and programs for the development of rural community. Last is rural planning. Rural sociology is a study of social planning relating to rural society. Community development projects, Panchayat Raj, cooperative movements are coming under this study. Their success and failure can only be measured by the study of rural sociology. It is a prime objective of rural sociologists to show exact position of different plans and programs which have been implemented in the rural areas. Thus, it is obvious from the above analysis that the scope or subject matter rural sociology no doubt is very wide and comprehensive. Although it is a young and progressive science, it studies various aspects of social life and social problems concerning rural life and rural society to a great extent. Now, many new studies have been included within the scope of rural sociology. These are environmental decay and erosion of ecology, problems and structure related to land and agriculture, study of tribal, forest and village people. It also studies the stratification pattern which has emerged from the working of the developmental programs. The field of rural sociology was enriched with the contribution by M.N. Srinivas, Macking Marriott, S.C. Dubey and D.N. Majumdar. Rural sociology is precisely a specialized field of sociology and social anthropology which is connected with the study of social life in rural areas. Its nature is scientific, which borrows heavily from these social sciences. Rural society is primarily dependent on agriculture and hence rural sociology also concerns itself on the peasant society. Rural sociology concentrates on the rural community life. During the beginning of the 1950s, the sociologists and the social anthropologists conducted extensive and innumerable studies in the field of caste, family, agrarian relations and land reforms. Whatever theoretical constructs which we have in the field of rural sociology have grown out of the intensive fieldwork done by the social scientists.